Right, good afternoon and welcome to the 6th, 7th perhaps, something like that, podcast for the Station Roaders, walking down the Station Road. Good afternoon. Obviously, we've got Wayne with us and we've got some guests down here. We've got Stephen and Tracey Parker from the Trust. Thank you very much for joining us. Brilliant.
Very welcome.
Brilliant of you to give up your time to come over. So obviously we've got Wayne with us. Good afternoon, Wayne.
Good afternoon, everybody. First of all, let's get the elephant out of the room. Somebody thought they were smart with their new Christmas present sign, and their set designer put all the letters back to front because that's how it looks on my camera. I've just been informed that that's now not correct, but we're going to roll with it. We'll be more professional next time. What can I say?
I did contemplate not telling you about it and then wait until we got on air and then just rip into you for it. But I thought that was a little bit too mean. So I did inform him beforehand. So you can't call me for that. Right, so we're going to work it a little bit different today. I'm giving Wayne sort of his big break, so he gets to do a bit of the questioning himself.
No
pressure. We're a bit like the Sith out of Star Wars. Like the master is going to get killed by the apprentice, I think, at this rate. So we're going to see how it goes. If he's rubbish, put it in the comments and I'll sack him off. I'll probably replace him with Andy Greenhouse or something like that.
Wow, that would be tough to take.
Yeah, I mean, Andy Greenhouse has got a perfect face for radio, so we might have to sort of put a little black screen over his in, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Right, so let's start with wine o'clock first before we give Wayne his big break, because I'm going to try and put it off as long as we can because I think he's going to be rubbish. So let's start with wine o'clock. So now, for me personally, I'm back to work, so I don't drink as much as I used to. So I might manage a couple of glasses of sherry tonight, Aldi's finest. I don't pay for anything that's not Aldi. Let's face it. I'm not a mug. So I'll be on the Aldi sherry tonight. What about you guys down there?
Well, for starters, for me, I'm just drinking out of my Supporters Trust mug and I'm having a nice cup of coffee because it's during the day. And normally every weekend I have a bottle of wine, and then that normally seats it. Don't tend to drink during the week on a school night. So no, just keep it special for weekend.
And I'm on the rosé. I like a Gallo. I downed a bottle last night because it's been a stressful week back in school.
Yeah.
But I'm on the decaf coffee now, but in Station Roaders mug.
So fair enough then.
Nice.
Lovely.
So yet again, Wayne's on a carer's duty. So we'll just see how this goes. Yeah. As you know, I've started the year as I mean to go on. I'm still keeping it, on the rails. So I'm not even getting involved with all this drinking nonsense. I've got a can of Pepsi Max today, so I'll keep it on the rails.
Hardcore.
Good one.
Fantastic.
Right, so I think we get on with it and let's get into some questions. As you know, we've got Tracey and Stephen on who are, first of all, I think fans of the club. They've taken on different roles from day one to where they are now. So I think we'll work through that. So first of all, do you like to tell us both when and how you got involved with being Swinton fans initially?
Yeah, it started about 25 years ago. And we went to Gig Lane, Moor Lane, Sedgley. We were just, at Gig Lane. Like, I think we were always in the opposite stands to you lot, to be honest. Because with our first child, Emily, I was in labour in the other side with Tony Barrow shouting, "Sit down, will you, woman?" That was like 2 days before she was born. Yeah. So that's how it started. My granddad was on the turnstiles at Station Road. So we have 3 generations of us involved now. With my mum, you'll know Brenda. You'll see her at match days on the merchandise. Yeah. Ourselves, we have our daughter who's on the pitch as an official club photographer. So there's 3 generations of us involved now. Fantastic. We were also, Stephen was in a band with Jim Evans. So that's how else we got going every weekend. We went basically to see Jim at first when he was playing for Swinton. And that's how it started, didn't it?
Yeah.
all that time
For
ago.
25 years.
Yeah.
Go on, Sally, carry on.
Now, we had a break in that time, you know, when our 2 children were getting to the age where it was, do we have to come on a Sunday, Mum? Do we have to go all weekend? Because we'd go to away games as well, you know, staying in hotels and what have you. So we did have a break for about, was it for 6 years?
Yeah, about 5 or 6 years.
5 or 6 years, still watching from a distance, but we did have a break, and jobs as well, you know, redundancies, getting new jobs. So we decided to back off because it was costing a fortune, you know.
So 25
Especially-
years,
Yeah.
similar to myself. You've enjoyed all the glory times then.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like myself, I think we jumped on this ride slightly late in the early days, but you know.
Definitely.
And then I think I'm right in saying, obviously, through that, then you've both moved on to the Supporters Trust. Is that correct?
Yeah, it started, it was one day, we've always been fans at home and away, and we were at Haywood Road one day, and Abby Roddy just approached me and said, do you fancy getting on board with fundraising? I've not really, I think I was a little bit involved with going to trust meetings at that time, but not, you know, seriously involved. So yes, we organised, I think for the week after, a tombola or something, and that's how basically it started, didn't it? You had to
Yeah, obviously, what kind of reignited after that slight hiatus of the kids not coming with us,
We ended up at the playoff final at the Halton Stadium, where obviously we won and then got promoted up into the championship. That almost, for me and Trace, reignited our kind of love for the game and love for the club, and wanted us to kind of get a little bit more involved.
I sat there and cried, didn't I? At the end, I said, "Look what we've missed."
Yeah.
You know.
So
Absolutely.
what I kind of realised was that there's obviously more going on rather than just being a straightforward spectator at watching games, and never really gone to any of the trust meetings. So I started going to trust meetings. I think Trey started going as well, and then obviously it ended up being at an AGM meeting. I think towards the end of 2015, where somebody said, "Do you want to come on board?" And then obviously, you know, I kind of thought, well, do I want to get a little bit more involved? And it's gradually gone on from there, to be honest. You know, we're always, even now, you know, if anybody wants to get more involved in the trust of what we do, the door is always open. There's legitimate ways of going about it through the AGM, and you get voted on, etc. But that was how I kind of got the interest in it. And then obviously, if you put your hand up and say, I can help doing a little bit, everybody else around the trust board and around any meetings that we have are saying, absolutely fantastic, get on board, and thank you, well, let's carry on. And then just pile it all on so that you can just crack on.
It's like them comedy shows, isn't it? When somebody says, if we have a volunteer, can everybody step forward, and then one person just stands there and everybody else steps back.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Totally.
Yeah, obviously, while I was involved in trust meetings to start with, we had a couple of chairmen who were looking after the board. Steve Johnson, I think, was kind of acting chair or chairman at the time. I think obviously every couple of years there's always the change in you know, people who can be on the board, and then from those, whether anybody wants to be chairman, can get quite involved, and therefore people, given their own personal circumstances, sometimes need to step down and kind of reduce their involvement. Steve Johnson was involved. Obviously, Steve Moyes then picked up the reins and was our chairman for a short period of time. And then obviously Steve stepped away, and then there was a bit of a void.
Yeah.
So that was, I think, about 2.5, 3 years ago. There was, we, as a trust board, we kind of identified that for a period of time, we necessarily didn't need a chairman to look after us and to be our voice. We were a board of people that were spectators and fans of the club that could have our own voice and do our own shouting, as it were, and didn't necessarily need a figurehead leading us. It did get around to who was leading the meetings, and yours truly ended up leading the meetings. And then ultimately, when it came around to the next AGM, everybody just looked at me and says, "Well, you never shut up. So do you want to actually take the official chair type of a role?" And one of those, like you say, Scott, it was. I stood still when everybody else stepped back when it was all being voted in.
Yeah, fantastic.
Just to bring the story up to date, I think we'll come back to the trust because that is actually what the show's about really today. But obviously, Stephen then went on to join the actual board of directors, I think is the official term, is it?
Yeah, obviously with the kind of even the setting up of the trust way back in 2002 and the further developments, the trust was formed originally. Steve Wild, who was, as you know, he's like obviously our chief ops director of the club. There was always the intention, and I think Tony Barrow still stuck around, that the trust took an active role, in being a shareholder of the club, and there was always to be a voice on the club board by having a position on the club board with a member of the trust. Obviously, Steve Wild took that mantle for a period of time and was almost acting as two people, looking after the trust interest, but he was also a director of the club. Ultimately, he's still a member of the trust, but obviously he's not a board member, and he is obviously one of the main operation guys running the club as it is now. And as I kind of was chairman of the trust in the last couple of years, with the changing structure of the club directorship, as we all are very familiar with 18 months ago, and the realization that we needed to almost like reset. Steve was still there, but there was a need to get Swinton people involved, and it was yet another opportunity to say, well, you trust, you're a shareholder, come on board as a director as well, along with, as you now know who the rest of the board members are. Come on board, be a representative of our supporters, be there to see the ins and outs and the internal operations of the club, which I do and regularly attend kind of our club board meetings, and be there just to be able to provide that backup and that support to the club.
Brilliant. Have you found working with the club, have you found it changes depending on who your chairman is? Because obviously from 2002, I mean, did you say it was 6 years you've been back involved?
Yeah, heavily involved with the trust. It's been 5 or 6 years, yeah.
Right. Have you found that there's been depending on the chairman, there's a different level of sort of reliance on the trust and how much trust the trust?
Yeah, obviously we were founder members of the trust, and I don't know whether you guys were as well back in 2002. And early doors, it was very much seen to be you needed because you need to help the club financially. In return for that, you get a bit of a shareholding, and it was very much a we need you kind of arrangement. During various, and I'm not naming past chairmen, but various chairmen who have come and gone, the trust has either been seen as, yes, we need you because we want you to help fundraise and get money for just the club, but there's been others that have basically said, actually, we don't need you. We don't see you as having a major role in how this club is operated. And as a result of that, and maybe we still maybe have a little bit of this in our system, even at the present time. We tend to be a little bit silent. We don't tend to shout from the rooftops what we do, what we get up to as a trust. We're not necessarily as vocal on social media. We tend to share a lot of things via Twitter, but you won't see us shouting from the rooftops everything that we do. That's probably from the past where we've been told to just like, we've always known that at various points in our history, we're going to be needed. So we've kept ourselves to ourselves, continued fundraising, knowing that, as we've all aware, there's a cycle, and chairmen come and go, and we leading and acting as representatives of the rest of the supporters of the club have acted as that conduit. We've always been there, so when the proverbial hits the fan, we've been there to help galvanise, been there as a conduit along with the rest of the supporters to help pay bills and help prop up the club again. And now I know with the new directors that are on board, we all know that they are very Swinton orientated, and the work that is going on behind the scenes, and the leadership that we've now got with the chairman Stuart, the trust is very much seen as we don't have what you call sponsors of the club. We're partners, and I've likened it in the past to be we're all kind of a big wheel that turns, and we are all members of the club. you've got the club itself, you've got the squad, Stuart, the players and backroom staff, you've got Stephen, the actual structure of people who actually do the running of the club itself to make sure that we abide by the RFL rules, submit paperwork, run the finances, sort the money out. But fundraising and support on day-to-day, match-day operations type of thing, financial support, and people to be able to help with some of the more mundane things that you have to do in order to keep the club running, we tend to get picked up. And you know, we kind of crack on and get some of those kind of jobs and get those done as well. So
Our roles are huge, aren't they?
yeah,
From
obviously
one extent to the other.
individuals who are members of the trust do small elements of work for the club on, say, match days, but obviously we take quite an active match day interest in the roles and responsibilities that we have as well.
Yeah, I mean, I see the trust as sort of within the Swinton Lions family. It's sort of like my nana within our family. I mean, she passed away a few years ago, but
Oh, thanks.
Let's hope we don't do that then, eh?
saying that, like, rest in peace, Nana, and all that. But no, it's like she's the head of the family, and everybody else can make their own decisions, and people come in the family and go out the family, and this, that, and the other. But that one person's always there, and always the one that you can rely on when things get difficult. And I think that's the thing I like about the trust. I can remember having a blazing row with a certain chairman, and I said to him, I said, you might put money into this club, mate, but you don't own this club, because this club's owned by the fans, and we're the ones that's always been here, and we'll be the ones that are here when you've buggered off somewhere else. And lo and behold, he did go somewhere else.
I think that is probably a thing with the trust in it. Whenever, at times, rugby league clubs in general, certainly Swinton, when you do it that time, when there's a big change in the club, if you don't have that trust there, or the trust, you don't really have anyone to rally the troops to actually, you know what I mean, to actually get other people back involved and new chairmen and new directors. I think if everybody left and there was no trust, you would really struggle to have that focal point, wouldn't you, to actually keep the club going.
Yeah,
That's it. The supporters trust is always there in the background working away. We both, all trust members and trust board members, hold full-time jobs as well. So the reason why it doesn't get on social media is because we're all at work till X, time of the day. And so people will message me during the day, but I don't get back to them until the evening. But we all hold full-time jobs.
Yeah. So
and that's just the way it is. I know. You know what it's been like this week. You've been out of school, though, and I've been in school.
Oh, no, I've not.
I don't know what's worse.
I've been in school all week, and they've increased my class size. So
yeah, ours has.
class size has gone up by 40%. So it's, I'm petrified on it. I'm lucky I'm not dead.
No, we've had to split ours completely. We've got that many in. Yeah.
Fantastic. What made me laugh though then was the way that Steve referred to Chairman Stewart. I mean, with Stu's political leanings, referring to him as a communist leader of the Chinese unfree world, proper made me laugh.
Not at all.
From now on. In fact, that could be the next Station Roaders t-shirt, hammer and sickle and Chairman Stu written across the front of it.
Yeah, the thing is with Stuart, he's obviously been a long-standing Swinton supporter.
Yeah.
And is obviously the best person out of the club board to be our kind of person that represents us is a position of a chairman. There are certain things that the RFL like to see regarding a club structure, and that is obviously board structure. And it was one of those positions that obviously you will have realised that we hadn't appointed a chairman from amongst the new board. And it was one of those that was basically a no-brainer. But Stuart will be the first to tell you that he's not a figurehead. He's just, he's got the title because he's the best man to take that title representing the rest of the club. And he certainly wouldn't want to be seen as any kind of a figurehead over the rest of the board, the rest of the club.
Yeah.
He's just that person that has got the title.
Yeah,
I think that's actually. Sorry, go on, Barney.
I quite like Stu as a person. I mean, ideologically, we juxtaposed. We don't agree on a lot when it comes to ideology, but as a person, you can actually see that he's really sort of interested in taking the club forward and doing the right thing. And I think that's the thing with. I mean, I don't know Damien particularly well, but what I'm seeing and reading about Damien as well, it does seem that he's sort of got the expansion of the club and the way that he's doing it seems to be at the heart of taking things in the right direction.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't know whether you've got plans to get Steve and Stuart on and Damien in the future.
I've actually spoken to Damien and he's up for it.
Yeah.
I didn't know him up until I spoke to him.
Yeah.
And in the sort of half an hour I spoke to him on the phone, he is absolutely 100% enthusiastic about Swinton Lions.
I think
that comes across straight away.
I think that's quite, it's key that anybody that has kind of got some kind of a partial involvement in the club, and has spoken, whether it's been brought in by Steve or it's somebody that has been introduced to Steve, when they get to know about us and about the family that is the Swinton Lions family, they very quickly get hooked. Damien's now a shareholder, he's on the board, and he's looking after our developments behind the scenes. And obviously, I'm not going to go on any more about what Damien can talk about, because he can talk for England and tell you in far more detail as to what the plans are for the club are in that regards. But no, it's very quickly evident that they get the bug.
Yeah,
they get involved. It becomes in you. Now I know Damien's not from Swinton, but he's one of the only ones that's not from Swinton.
Yeah.
I think that is what is key to a board sort of Swinton's level. You need several people's ideas, don't you? You can't be guided one way or the other solely. You need opinions across the board of what's best, what's not best, what will work, what won't work. And I think with having Swinton fans on the board, as well as obviously Damien, I would imagine would say he's a Swinton fan now, but he's come from another background, hasn't it? And then when you gel them things together, you get a wider view of what you need, don't you? Rather than maybe a blinkered view sometimes.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely correct. Yeah.
So going back to the trust, I know you said you don't like to shout from the rooftops, but why don't we tell people what the trust do? As in, what have the trust paid for? I think I've seen recently developed with the new, I don't even know how to describe it. Is it the players
Analysis
training
Pro.
GPS? Yeah, I'll let you see. Yeah, so we'll start with that, which is a new modern thing you've sort of invested in with the club. So tell us about that.
Yeah, well, obviously, one of the things that the trust in our aims, if you kind of go on our website, which is www.lionstrust.co.uk, you will find what our general objectives are. And in the main, they are to help the running of the club. And obviously, and in recent meetings, AGMs, that's obviously been prioritised with the new board, that's going to be of financial assistance. But we're not just there to help the club per se. We're there to help promote the game of rugby league with the local community, with the wider sport of rugby league. Even there's a line there in our objectives that talks about it being international. So we're there to encourage the game of rugby league, full stop. But kind of going into what we do to support the club financially, over the past number of years, the club obviously have identified expenditure. And that expenditure ranges from things like training costs. The club train at the AJ Bell, they've trained at Lee Miners Rangers. They have expenditure regarding, say, away coach travel. So what we've done in conjunction with Steve is obviously we get certain money in from our members each month. We generally have an idea as to how much fundraising we can do throughout the year. And that generally means we can afford so much a month. When we sit down with Steve and have a bit of a chat as to what therefore that ends up being allocated towards, we spend most of our money to the club and it goes to cover things like I've already just stated. What we do a little bit and spend money on that we've done a little bit more recently is things like the start of last season, we started up the running of the program, the match day program. It was money that we would spend in order to, volunteers within the trust actually organise the actual pulling together of that production, and then we pay for the printing. But then obviously we make money from any profits that we make from that as a program. So that's one of the other things that we kind of get on with regards to day to day. In the past, club have identified medical needs. There might be stretchers that we may well have bought, and other bits of items that the club have identified. This year is that Analysis Pro software and the kit that was identified. To be honest, that was one of the items that I think Stuart had identified to the club board that he wants. Stuart Littler, in regards on behalf of him and the players, was identifying that that's something that would really make a difference. Everybody did the due diligence on that and put forward that yes, that was something that would be worthwhile that the club invested in. And on the back of that, it was something that I saw that the trust could quite easily identifiably say we can contribute towards the funding of that as well, which we have done. But it's not the only thing that we paid for. You may well have seen a little bit on social media. Folly Lane, we in the past we've sponsored some of the kids' kits and playing kits. We've had the trust logo on some of those. More recently, they've had a requirement, because obviously they're going to be the base for the Lionesses, to improve the pitch side fencing around the perimeter. I was approached on behalf of the trust to see whether we would contribute towards the funding of some of that, and therefore we've dealt with Gary Woodward direct. We've taken it out of the club to Folly direction, and we've just said, right, trust and Folly, what is it you need? And we've said, right, we'll just get them to bill us direct rather than involve Folly in that. So it's an expenditure that Gary and Folly have said, right, we don't need to worry about that. The trust will be responsible for paying for that, which we have done.
So the bill came in for the spectator fencing. Is it known as spectators?
Yeah, spectator.
And the club and the trust, supporters trust, just paid the bill for it.
Brilliant.
So, in the past, it's been all medical equipment, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Even going way back, apparently it was the post at Moor Lane, which I didn't realise it were paid by, out of supporters trust money. And like Stephen said, our team away coach, we contribute to that. So obviously not this season, but hopefully again as we kick off again.
Yeah.
And training facilities, paying for the cost of the training facilities. I mean, that's what the trust does in general. But then there's personal roles within the trust.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be interesting for you all to be fly on the walls on a match day for us, especially away games, when we can be up at 8 in the morning, not back until 9, 10 at night. Because I don't know if you know, but my car is the kit car. So when I went to buy a new car, there's not many people have to take a tape measure and check you can fit a stretcher in it. Because our actual, when they say you're a kit car, it's not the player's clothing, it's all the other equipment that goes with it.
Yeah.
It's the stretcher, the medical equipment, a bit of the medical equipment.
The cool boxes, the pads, everything. Yeah. So what we do on a match day is we drive to the kit man's parents' house where it's stored. That's Colin and Barbara Gettins who actually wash the players' kit.
Yeah.
So it's Barbara and Colin who actually wash the players' kits. We collect all the equipment from them. On a home game, obviously, we take it straight to Hayward Road. Away games, we drive it to the pickup point, which I won't say where it is because we don't want loads of fans turning up on a Sunday morning.
we meet the players. We meet the players and we meet the players' coach basically.
To put the kit in it. But then after the away games, we always wait at the away stadiums and pick it up. It's actually quicker for us to get back home with the kit in the car on board. So it can be a long day. But home games, lots of the trust board members you'll see around doing individual jobs, from putting posts out, pads out,
Just listening to them things the trust do, they are directly affecting things on the field, from the kit or even to the, the training equipment that we spoke about, directly affecting it. But they're also directly affecting the community sort of rugby side of it, which I think both of them things are what Swinton fans want to be seen to be doing, isn't it? You directly want to improve the team. And like you say, you've sponsored Folly, you've improved the playing area at Folly. Things like that are what real Swinton people want to see done, innit? Which, as you've explained, that is exactly the sort of stuff the trust does.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and it's one of the things that, you know, maybe we should shout a bit louder, but, and I know we are, along with the club, who want, you know, like season ticket holders, they want player, you know,
Yeah.
supporters to go to the games and pay for it. You've got your pride builder that are after members, yourselves as station roaders, you want people to buy merchandise, and we're in the mix as well.
Yeah.
You know, we've got money that we need to come in. We've got our subscriptions plus our fundraising. We've got commitments to make, payments towards the club financially. We need to think collectively but differently to everybody else that's trying to raise money out of our supporter base. We need to try and increase our supporter base, increase our Supporters Trust members as part of that process. Because I don't know whether you quite realise, but the Supporters Trust is actually an official mutual society.
Yeah.
We're actually regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority, the FCA.
Right.
Everything we do is regulated. So every year we have to have an AGM. Every year the monies and the finances are independently audited. We are actually coming up to our next AGM. So for those of you who are, I think Scott, you're a member. I'm not so sure you are, Wayne, but I'll make sure you get a form. But we are holding an AGM very soon, which will cover the kind of the last complete financial year. And once we've done that and that's been ratified, that's going to get submitted to the FCA. It's something that has to be done every year. So we've got rules and regulations that we have to abide by. One of the things that we are unfortunately slightly tied in with, and I know you kind of talked about this with Tim when he mentioned about Pride Builder. I
am still a member, I am still a member.
I'm not so sure whether you're still paying any money.
Let's write his name on a list.
We'll check.
Did I not join? Well, hang on a minute. Don't call me out on my TV programme.
Let me check the list.
Did I not pay an annual fee?
You may well have done. You may well, and I'll have to check it. I apologise.
He's been called out now, and he's like, "Oh, that's not."
What is going on? I'm going to trash this place. No. On a serious note regarding membership, if mine has run out, I will amend it. But,
that's fine. We'll check and we'll talk to you.
In full disclosure, I only actually joined the trust probably a year and 18 months ago. For some reason, I'd not actually been in it. It was just something, obviously I knew about the trust, but it had just been something that I never actually joined.
Yeah.
So I did join. I think I did the one where you paid the annual,
the
annual one-off payment.
Yeah, unfortunately, one of the things that we kind of struggle a little bit, and it's the way that it's just been structured, is that as a trust, we can't charge extortionate membership fees to join the trust. You don't charge large fees. If you follow other trusts of other clubs, the amount, an annual fee is very small. Ours is minimum of £2 a month or £24 for a year. Obviously, the optimum word in that is minimum. Obviously, a lot of members do pay just the £2 a month, and that comes in regularly by standing order.
Yeah.
A lot of people do pay more than that, and obviously, the more the merrier, because that enables us to do a lot more with that. But part of our fundamental setup is that we've got to be open to everybody, and we've got to be really on a low cost basis to allow membership, and that's part of being a mutual society. We're here for all our members, and we want to try and get as many members involved as possible. It's, my thoughts are to try and get more members of the trust. If they're only just paying £2 in a month, that's absolutely fine. But with a bit of luck, they will get a bit more of the book of the club. They will want to contribute more, but they will also want to take a little bit more of an active role in regards to the club, the operational running on day to day. There are a number of us that do a bit during, game day, for example, but it's always open for others to come on board and say, I'll come a bit earlier and I'll help do something else. Things like putting out the pads, onto the sticks, on game day. That's a job that somebody's got to do it.
Yeah.
Selling the programs, selling the Golden Gamble, they're done by people who are predominantly trust members, obviously the supporters of the club, but the volunteers that just happen to be both.
That's how it goes on a game day, doesn't it? Stephen tends to go outside, checking all the posts are on, helping with that. The programme tables are set up and, served by Supporters Trust. Inside in the downstairs bar, we have the merchandise stall, which is all trust members dealing with that. Obviously, before anybody turns up, we go upstairs and we check corporate is all set up. All the bottles you'll see on tables, it's all trust have provided all that. We take it out of Steve Wild's hand. Yeah, don't worry about it. We'll sort that. You know, that's all the trust as well. The little jobs like that that I don't think people see that go on every match day. Hence, we go in 2 or 3 cars some days to home games.
Yeah.
We go in all our cars. Emily will drive, I drive, Stephen drives, just to get everything there on some match days. And then it's the team of trust members that come along and say, right, I'll do that, you do that, we delegate. I've got more people on board who are involved with the mascots that help me on match days. If I'm stuck behind that merchandise stall, you can't get out to help your mascots.
Yeah.
Your ball boys, you know, the trust have took on the role of taking, you know, charge of the ball boys, checking it's all okay. You know, so it's getting more people on board to help.
One of the things that you will have realised is that there is a merchandise stall. Now, it's not just trust merchandise, it's actually club merchandise. And that was, when there was the slight change in structure of the club, there was still going to be club merchandise being produced. Yes, you've got the online shop, but when you've got spectators that want to come up and try tops on and try shirts on and have other club branded merchandise, that's a role that we've taken on board, being obviously involved with the trust, but with the club. Who else is going to do it if we don't do it? You know, so there is basically a shop that we run that is obviously running the club shop, and it's the club branded merchandise, but there is obviously work to do behind the scenes with that. We put orders in to our, you know, to the supplier, and we basically get provided with the what we've ordered, and then it's up to us to sell it and then provide the club with the money for that, because it's a job that needs doing.
Yeah.
I think it is a good point, isn't it, as well, with regard to, like say, merchandise and even club merchandise. It is good, even though it's easy to buy it online and what have you. It's good when you walk in the bar, you do see a selection of kits and shirts and things. You know that. I think it's just a good look in it. You still have some actual merchandise on show that, like you say, people can try and even buy on the day, sort of thing.
Yeah, because
Colin and Barbara did it, didn't they, at Sedgley? They had a table at Sedgley, but then after that, there didn't seem to be much, did there at all?
There wasn't the emphasis for, you know, I know if you go to other clubs' grounds, you know, the one that I tend to have a bit of a reach around is every time we go over to Featherstone, they've got their own little dedicated shop inside the ground. Have a mooch around in there, and there's a little team of people beavering away, and the shop's busy. We unfortunately work in, you know, playing out at Haywood Road. We've got to move that, and then we've got to move it out again every game day. But it's to have that very hands-on. People want, you might want to buy a hat, a cap. It might just be a badge, but it, you know, we sell sweets and we sell chocolate.
To make money.
It's all to raise money for the trust, but it's trying to get people to come and look at what we've got on our store.
Yeah, just come over and see what we've got, type thing.
Yeah,
absolutely. And what I'll try and do, and sometimes get kind of sidetracked, is that I end up chatting to people. And what I'm trying to do is trying to encourage people that it is the trust people that are doing this. Here's a form, become a trust member. You know, we heavily get involved with the Junior Lions. It was something we said a couple of years ago that we'll look after Dana and whoever Dana is kind of, you know, in his roles and responsibilities, we'll look after that. We'll make sure that if people want Dana to make special appearances at various places, that rather than keep badgering, say, Stephen and the club, he can pass it straight to us and we'll just arrange it. So I know that will get picked up when you talk to, say, Damien, but things like the Lionesses, things like the community game that we're going to be obviously encouraging, and there's going to be more community involvement in and around not just Swinton, but obviously in the area of Trafford, which is where we play. The trust have got a role to play as being a representative of the organisation of the club, and Dan as part of that. And if we get kids coming to games, kids doing community stuff, all with the Swinton Lions, and the Lions as being the main brand that kids are going to get known for, that's when we can go in there, and we've got Dana, and we've got, you know, can pester them about what other functions that the trust does as well. And then obviously they see us on match days. We look after them at the start of the games on match days and make sure, all being well, we'll get the flag back out again, and we'll get more kids pulling the flag out onto the pitch. These little jobs need people to help run these, because
there's a lot of things going on at quite a concentrated time leading up to kick-off.
Yeah.
And then we can try and enjoy the game.
Yeah. Yeah. Try.
That's why I enjoy away games more.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I must say, when I
yeah.
worked at the club, I felt exactly the same. I preferred away games to home games because I wasn't getting any either. I mean, it's nice to see that Dana lives with you, because I know that, obviously I know where you live, and that sounds really sinister, that, innit? I'm not saying I know where you live. I'm saying I've picked up a load of stuff that I've bought off you in the past, and I grew up round there as a kid because my auntie lived round the corner, and I know there's some nice fields for Dana to have a run out in. So yeah, it's quite open round there, so I do quite like it. So yeah, I mean, I think personally, for me, and I meant to say this to Tim when we had Tim on, but I was absolutely steaming by the end of the podcast, so I didn't have to say it. And it was, I didn't realise how much I'd actually drunk until I got off it. I got up the next morning and I went, did I put that on YouTube last night, or should I do it today? And it's like, I had to go on the computer and check because I was a mess. But yeah, one of the things that I wanted to sort of say to you guys as a trust, and also to Tim, Reese, and Dave over at the Pride Builder, is when we had all that nonsense last year with the name change, for you guys to stand up and be counted the way that you did, for me as a Swinton fan, I will never ever forget what you guys have done for me personally. And
Absolutely.
I want to say, from the bottom of my heart and of I'm getting a bit emotional here talking about it. But
Had a drink again.
Do you know, Barney, I was just saying, yeah, I feel the same, because I'm getting a bit emotional, because when I first heard about anything, I was on my lunch break at school, I picked up my phone, it was a message off somebody saying,
Depending
don't
on
get
which
me
side of
wrong
the
in
coin
that.
he was on, but it helped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong in that, there was mixed feelings amongst the trust.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at one point it was
Definitely.
50-50.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think the difficulty we as the trust found ourselves in at that moment in time was that there was things being shared, and there was a need to share it amongst the wider supporter base.
Yeah.
And we as the trust, as I've already mentioned, we're a mutual society.
yeah,
Every member has an equal voice. I happen to just only have an equal voice as everybody else. I just happen to be the chair because I happen to talk quite a bit. But the whole point of me, when I was explaining to a certain individual, there's a due process that we've.
My best mate for longer than I can remember, I split up with girlfriends and didn't have anywhere to live. I lived with him and his wife. He's been there for me through thick and thin. We didn't speak for
a couple
of weeks because of it, because I was fuming in the fact that it was the perfect divide and conquer like tactic, and we all fell for it. And it's like I'm fuming with myself for it. And in fact, while we're on this subject, can I just I want to give a big up to Alan Coleman, because Alan Coleman today has stood up for Swinton and he's been absolutely outstanding. And I don't want to say any more than that, because those that know will know. But I just want to say, Al Coleman, you absolute legend. That guy, I've got an hat on. I'll take my hat off to you, mate. I'm going to have to put it back on again because I don't want to blind everybody. But you absolute legend. You are, yeah. I'm so proud to have you to do something to do with Swinton. And so much so that I've even put on today, I've put my Lee Miners jersey on because of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
As a little bit of a thank you to Al Coleman, I've put my Lee Miners top on, and I just want to say, for sticking up for us, thank you very much. So
I'll second that. I've seen it, Barney. I know what you're talking about. We won't go into the details, but absolutely shout out to Alan Coleman, because you've got to stick up for your club, and that's it.
Yeah.
You know, people move on, people come and go in rugby. That's always going to be the case.
Oh, yeah.
But when you're here, you have to stick up for your own club. Like we said, well done to Alan Coleman.
Yeah, we'll third it, Wayne, because after you told us about it, I went and searched and found it. Yeah. So we'll third that.
Yeah. The thing is, like with what we've already talked about, you know, we've got to move on. And,
Yeah, exactly.
And the future
that's exactly it, isn't it?
The future is ours now,
Yeah.
And it's the club's. You know, everything's in the club's control. The trust are here to support the club. We obviously need more members to help fund the coffers. More ideas regarding fundraising this year is going to be another strange one. I can see it. I know the RFL announced put out a statement earlier this week that kind of put a slight pause as to where we should be. I think the delay to the release of the fixtures might be as a result of that. And it's a case of, well, we will get through it no matter what gets thrown at us. You know, I know the club are sound financially and obviously structurally. And we're just absolutely chomping at the bit. And I know Stuart and the squad are absolutely chomping at the bit because I'm involved in those kind of conversations, you know, at board level. It's just this bloody COVID throws big spanners in things and kind of delays where we're up to. What we all need to be ready with is, as and when games get put on, if they are behind closed doors, that the club is then spending money. It's having to pay things like the rent at Hayward Road. The fundraising will need to be ramped up so that we can financially help support whatever gets thrown at the club. You know, to help support our other business partners, the sponsors of the shirt and the other bits of the kit, etc. You know, there's going to be money that we need to help find with and think out of the box of how we can collectively keep everything ticking over. When we all get back to watching the games again, then obviously we'll all be the massive sigh of relief. But again, it's never ending. It's not like anybody can rest on the laurels. It'll be never, you know, the fundraising, the processes of how everything operates will have to continue. And that's whether or not we are there.
I think that's what makes Swindon, in my opinion, in such a good position, because obviously we've got the club. Everybody pays above and beyond to the club. They buy the shirts, they buy the tickets, etc. Obviously, we've got the trust yourselves who bring money in. We've got the new Pride Builder, which has only been going a short amount of time, but it's going fantastic. And then even like the Station Roaders, we have done lots of little things that just put them pennies in the bank. And between the 3, 4, 5 different sets of incomes, I think in a smaller club, that is what you need, isn't it? You need all them pots of money coming in together.
It is, and it's spreading the word, because the intention is to obviously make this club a bigger and better club, and that is to keep spreading the word to our wider supporter base. I know that we're not just Swinton, we've got our base currently in Sale and we're in Trafford, and I know that that's something that Damien's keen to encourage. You know, we're not just there playing games on a match day, we've got a bigger involvement. And so let's increase the number of people that watch Swinton and watch the Lions, and it can only bode well for us. You know, bring bigger and better partners into the club to help us move it all forward. Obviously, from us as a basic trust, my big shout out to all of the watchers of this and the listeners is to if you're not joining the trust, join it. If you need to go on the website, go on our website, and on there you'll find a little bit about the history of the trust. The trust is actually, the page is maybe slightly out of date, but it is getting updated. We had a trust board meeting this last week on Zoom, and a few things are going to get sorted out. There is a link to the membership form on there that can be completed and sent into Sam, who's our membership guy. But it is also available to set up online banking. The bank account, and I think we'll probably send it to you, or we'll add it into the comments below.
Yeah, we can add it in the comments.
We'll you know, it can be set up online banking, and then names and address and what we've set up can be informed accordingly.
So going on to fundraising, I'd just like to, obviously people who are watching this, to give a big shout out to everybody who's donated anything for the auction page. That was just one thing that I started off. I had lots of donations, so I thought, what do I do with this? Let's set up an auction page. You know, and since that auction page started, I think are we up to, I can't remember what we're up to now. We're up to about 14,000 just on things that people don't want anymore, Swinton related, sometimes not Swinton related. But that, I mean, we did collect some things Thursday night, so we have got some things going on later, some very nice things that have been donated. So it's just a big shout out to thank everybody that continues to support, because it happened at school. I was chair of our fundraising there, and when people saw me coming, they just saw money. And I think it's the same at Swinton now. If anything to do with me, it involves money, but it's not for me, it's for the club.
Yeah.
You know, we had the fantastic beach towel sale where we sold 150 beach towels, and that actually raised £895 clear profit.
Brilliant.
You know, but they all sold. Yes, we were selling them out the back of the car on the Swan car park, but it didn't matter. We got permission, you know. So it's just a big thank you to everybody who continues to support. Yes, I might go on, buy your merchandise, you know, support the auction page, and then we're all doing it for the same purpose.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
It's surprising how much we can get Swinton fans to buy. As you know, I go for the hard sell on the station roaders. If you're in the group, you're buying. That's it. Yeah. Anything that comes up in my mind, I'm sticking a badge on it. The new badge is just available. I hope you're all loving it. That'll be on everything you need within the house. If you're going in, out, we're going to stick it on it. So get ready to spend some of your Christmas money on that. Yeah. But yeah, like I say, I think, like we said, just having everybody together chipping in is the key to making the club go forward. The little bits add up, and then we've got a board on board who are Swinton through and through for the most part. Obviously, we've got some newer ones, and yourselves who are Swinton through and through. But I think that is why Swinton, although it's been a tough year, no doubt, it feels like we're in a good position. You know, the players are together, the squad signed up. It just feels like the club as a whole is in a good position to, when we're allowed to play, we're ready to go.
Yeah,
definitely.
Superb. Right, well, any more questions, anybody?
I've got one thing I'd like to add.
No, here we go.
I think what might be a good idea is, I know you said you have the shop in the, you know, in the bar and what have you, and you sell chocolates and things like that. I think next year it would be good that if you've ever been on someone's podcast, that maybe they get a free Lion Bar at every game. I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know, you know what.
Well, actually, Wayne,
our profits, isn't it?
Well, in my garage now, we've got about 60 little Christmas bags made up that have not gone anywhere because they were going to go for one thing that didn't happen, all down to COVID. They were going to go to the Lionesses the day at Folly. Obviously, that's now been delayed. So on the first match day, whenever we get back, they will still be in date. You get into that merchandise store and there'll be a freebie.
I'll give him a freebie. Charge him double. He's not in the...
Well, no, this is what it's all about.
Don't get involved, Barney, please. Don't get involved.
To give as well as take.
I'll tell you what, I've learned something this podcast now, and it's...
If you don't ask, you don't get.
No, that's true. Well, there's also got to be give and take.
But what I've learned is you give Wayne a little bit of power and he makes it all about himself, doesn't he?
It's gone, mate.
It's all about you. I might see if I can dub that song over the end of this. It's all about
I don't think we can afford it, mate. I don't think we can afford it.
When's that ever stopped us? So like I say, thank you for everything that you do for the club. If you want to come on again, give us a shout. You're more than welcome. The pair of you are more than welcome to come on. Wayne was telling me before that he asked the woman in Aldi today if she wants to come on it. Just we've got plenty of people to talk about, but she works at the Aldi in Swinton, so it's not too bad. So it's anybody that you know, if anybody says to you, I enjoyed that, how do I get on it? Give them our details, ask them to subscribe, ask them to like our videos, and we can take it all from there. So thank you very much, the pair of you. Anything else to add?
Welcome. www.lionstrust.co.uk.
Fantastic.
I love a professional. What
I will do is I will put that out on the Twitter feed. When you put it out on Facebook, and we'll take it from there and we'll get that thrown out there. I've got Wayne's bank account details from last thing. So I'll sign you up, Wayne, to the trust. You said £200 a month, didn't you, mate?
He may well be there, and I'll do a double.
Yeah, give or take about 186. So. No, seriously though, I'll speak to you after, and if my membership's run out, we'll amend that. And then hopefully, you know, a bit like the Pride Builder, if you're out there, you're watching, you're not in the trust, maybe like me, you know, you've got to get on there, fill it in. It's not a lot of money. It doesn't have to be a lot of money.
No.
Just what you can afford, similar to the
Yeah.
Pride Builder. And again, it all adds up.
Yeah.
And like Barney, I'd like to thank you both for coming on. It's good that you do shout about it sometimes and let people know. So hopefully now people know what you do.
Exactly.
And
Busy days.
if you guys don't shout about it, we'll shout about it for you. All right.
That's not a problem. We can
Thank
do
you.
that.
So yeah. So right, David's talking to me now. He's just been around Matty Ashton's house for a brew. So I best disappear and answer his phone call. I'll see you all later.
Right, see you later.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye.
Thank you.